Hey guys, Mike here, Grinding Gears Garage. We are working on our Yamaha Blaster today. It's been a little while. We had a bunch of other projects to finish up, so we're finally getting started on it again. The bottom end is complete. We did a video on that, so we're getting ready to do the top end. We finally got our cylinder back from the machine shop, so everything's ready to go. We got our new Wiseco piston here. We are going to just show you guys how we put our top ends together and just give you guys some little tips and tricks. First things first, we have to put the piston onto the rod. So we have our new wrist pin bearing, and circlips for the wrist pin. So we're going to go ahead and open everything up. We have a rag here, set everything on. When we put top ends together and bottom ends, we use a little bit of engine assembly lube, which is right over here. So when the engine starts up, it is going to smoke a little bit because of the lube. But it just makes putting everything together a little bit easier. So nothing hangs up. So we're just putting a little bit of coating here on the wrist pin. Take our wrist pin bearing. Apply a little bit to the inside of the actual wrist pin. Part of the crank. Take our wrist pin bearing, just put a little bit on there. Pop it right in. So now that's in. We're going to take one of our circlips and install it into the piston ahead of time so we don't overdrive the wrist pin. It's pretty straightforward. You have your little hole right here. That's where the clip sits. So we're going to start the front end of it and grab a small screwdriver. Push. There, we got it in place, and you just have to push it down. Pops right in. So that side's good to go. Obviously, arrow faces forward to your exhaust port. So we're going to put our piston in, slide the wrist pin in, make sure it's fully seated. And we're going to take our other circlip, where did I put that? There it is. And then you also want to make sure before you put your top end on that your rings are sitting in the right orientation. When we go to actually slide the cylinder over top, I'll show you how we keep everything aligned. So we're going to do the same thing for this side. Spin the case real quick. Now you definitely want to be careful doing this one, because if you miss, it's going to go into the engine. So we're actually going to do it this way. There we go. Boom. Piston's installed. She is ready to go. So we're going to take our base gasket here, and we are actually going to apply some Yamaha bond to the bottom half of the case before we install our base gasket. Apply a little to the top as well so we get a nice seal. So same thing we did with the case halves. We're going to just do a real light coat. Nothing too crazy. This is just mainly to help seal off any imperfections in either mating surface. This stuff works really great. We use it on all of our bikes. We use it on our LT engine that we actually just sold when we put the case halves together, as well underneath the base gasket like we're doing here. So you just want to make sure it's a real light coat. You're not going crazy with it. It's just an extra little step that we do to make sure the everything seals up for us. So since we have our engine all ready to assemble, we have Yamaha bond on both sides. We're going to take our base gasket here and install it. Now the gasket is a little different. There is two bigger holes for the clutch side where your dowel pins are, your alignment pins. So since we have the gasket on, we're going to take our assembly loop here. Just give the piston a real light coat. You can also coat the bore if you would prefer to do that. So we're going to take our rings now and just align them roughly with the alignment pins that are in the piston right there. You want to get them roughly close so when you actually compress it to install your cylinder, they will bite into that groove and stay aligned. So we just do this by hand. Oops. Spin that. Wasn't paying attention. There we go. So we have our cylinder onto our bottom end. We are going to grab our bolts and reinstall our 4 bolts around the outside. So we have all 4 of our bottom bolts tightened down. There is a torque spec on it. I do not have it, seeing as I don't have a way to officially torque it because the nuts are extremely hard to get to. Oops. So we're going to put our reed cage back in. So we are good to go. We try and button up the top end as much as possible so nothing can get down into the jug. So we're just gonna trying to take this gasket off. Son of a gun. So we're just gonna pull this gasket off of our V-Force reed cage. We're going to install a new gasket because this one is junk. Go. Take our reed cage gasket. So we're going to go ahead and install our reed cage. We'll grab our torque wrench and a socket. We're going to go ahead and torque these down. So we got our cylinder tightened down. It's 20 foot-pounds. The head, you're going to torque it to 18. We also torqued our reed cage 6 foot-pounds for the 4 bolts. We put a new reed cage gasket. We have to do a little work. Our head gasket is for a 60 thousandths bore, overbore, and we went to 90. We talked to Vito's. They said just to keep this, we're going to take a sanding roll around the outside edge and just clean it up. Make sure there's no sharp edges. We'll sand on the inside and outside. So we're going to cover everything up, sand this real quick so we get a little bit more clearance to the piston. Then we're ready to put our head on, which our head we're going to clean up a little bit too. It's got a bunch of carbon buildup. Take some brake clean and polish that off. So we have our dome cleaned up a little bit. Some brake clean in there. So that's all cleaned up. We have our head gasket filed correctly. So we're going to install our head. Just remove. We're good. So we're going to place this just like that. Then we have our nut and washer, which get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Alright, so we got our head on. We're just doing our final torque, doing 20 foot-pounds all the way around. So once this is done, we're going to get set up, do ourselves a little leak down test here, just to make sure everything is good with our motor before we stick it back into the quad. So the bolts are tight. Let us get set up and we'll do our leak down. So we got our blaster engine here set up. We did our leak down test. We have a slight air leak, but we only lost a little under a PSI in 10 minutes. So that's good enough. Good to go. It's a slight leak around the exhaust flange. So we're going to pull that off, put a little high temp silicone on there, put it back together. Should be good to go. So that's it for the blaster. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. We're going to be putting it back into the blaster hopefully today or tomorrow. And then we are going to be doing a break-in cycle. We'll show you guys how we do our heat cycles. We wanted to get one on the Raptor, but our camera was dead. So we're actually going to do one here on the blaster. Break it in. Hopefully we'll be able to take it up to our buddy Matt's house and run it in for a couple hours. Run a few tanks of gas through it, see how it runs. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Check out our Facebook page. I'll put the link below in the description. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course. Have a good one. See ya.